Oh, dear.
Your call, please.
Operator, I've been dialing Murray Hill, 40098. Now for the last 3 quarters of an hour, and the line is always busy. But I don't see how it could be busy that long. Will you try it for me, please?
Murray Hill 40098. One moment, please.
I don't see how it could be busy all the time. It's my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I'm feeling alone here in the house. My health is very poor, and I've been feeling so nervous all day.
Ringing Murray Hill 40098.
Hello.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, George?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Who's this? What number am I calling?
We have heard from our client. He says the coast is clear for tonight.
Yes, sir.
Where are you now?
In a phone booth.
Okay, you know the address. At 11 o'clock, the private patrolman goes around to the bar on 2nd Avenue for a beer. Be sure that all the lights downstairs are out. There should be only one light visible from the street. At 11:15, a subway train crosses the bridge. It makes a noise in case her window is open and she should scream.
Hello? What number is this?
Okay, I understand.
Make it quick, as little blood as possible. Our client does not wish to make her suffer long.
A knife, okay, sir?
Yes, a knife will be okay, and remember, remove the rings and bracelets and the jewelry in the bureau drawer. Our client wishes it to look like a simple robbery.
Okay, I get it.
Oh, how awful. How unspeakably.
Your call, please.
Operator, I've been just cut off.
I'm sorry, madam. What number were you calling?
Please!
This is the chief operator.
Chief Operator, I want you to trace a call. A telephone call. Immediately. I don't know where it came from or who was making it, but it's obviously necessary that it can be tracked down because it was about a murder. Yes, a terrible, cold-blooded murder of a poor, innocent woman tonight at 11:15.
I see.
Can you trace it for me? Can you track down those men?
It depends, madam.
Depends on what?
It depends on whether the call is still going on. If it's a live call, we can trace it on the equipment. If it's been disconnected, we can.
Disconnected?
If the parties stop talking to each other.
Oh, but of course, they must have stopped talking to each other by now. That was at least 5 minutes ago, and they didn't sound like the type who would make a long call.
Well, I can try tracing it. Now, what is your name, madam?
Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Albert Stevenson. But listen.
And your telephone number?
Plaza 4-2295. But if you go on wasting all this time.
And what is your reason for wanting this call traced?
My reason? Well, for heaven's sake. Isn't it obvious? I overheard 2 men. They're killers. They're planning to murder this woman. It's a matter for the police.
Have you told the police?
No. How could I?
You're making this check into a private call purely as a private individual?
Yes, but meanwhile...
Well, Mrs. Stevenson, I seriously doubt whether we could make this check for you at this time just on your say-so as a private individual. We'd have to have something more official.
Oh, for heaven's sake! You mean to tell me that I can report a murder without getting tied up in all this red tape? Why, it's perfectly idiotic. All right, then I will call the police.
Your call, please.
The police department, please.
Ringing the police department.
Police Department, Precinct 43, Duffy speaking.
Police department? Oh, this is Mrs. Stevenson, Mrs. Albert Smith Stevenson of 53 North Southern Place. I'm calling to report a murder.
Eh?
I mean, the murder hasn't been committed yet. I just overheard plans for it over the telephone, over wrong number that the operator gave me. I've been trying to trace down the call myself, but everybody's so stupid. And I guess in the end, you're the only people who could do anything.
Yes, ma'am.
It was perfectly a definite murder. I heard the pants distinctly. Two men were talking, and they were going to murder some woman at 11:15 tonight. She lived in a house near a bridge.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a private patrolman on the street. He was going to go around for a beer on the 2nd Avenue. And there was some third man, a client who was paying for his poor woman murdered. They were going to take her rings and bracelets and use a knife. Well, it's unnerved me dreadfully, and I'm not well.
I see. When was all this, ma'am?
About 8 minutes ago. Then you can do something. You do understand.
And what is your name, ma'am?
Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Albert Stevenson.
And your address?
53 North Southern Place. That's near a bridge, the Queensborough Bridge, you know. And we have a private patrolman on our street, and the 2nd Avenue.
And what was that number you were calling?
Murray Hill, 40098. But that wasn't the number I overheard. I mean, Murray Hill, 40098 is my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I was trying to reach him to ask to come home. I'm an invalid, you know, and it's the maid's night off, and I hate to be alone, even though he says I'm perfectly safe as long as I have the telephone right behind my bed.
Well, we'll look into it, Miss Stevenson, and see if we can check it with the telephone company.
But the telephone company said that they couldn't check the call if the parties had stopped talking. I've taken care of that.
Oh, yes?
Personally, I feel you ought to do something far more immediate and drastic than just check the call. What good does checking call do? If they've stopped talking, by the time you track it down, they'll already have committed the murder.
Well, we'll take care of it, lady. Don't worry.
I'd say the whole thing calls for a search, a complete and thorough search of the whole city. I'm very near a bridge, and I'm not far from 2nd Avenue, and I know I'd feel a whole lot better if you sent a radio call to this neighborhood at once.
And what makes you think the murder is going to be committed in your neighborhood, ma'am?
Oh, I don't know. This coincidence is horrible. 2nd Avenue, the patrolman, the bridge.
2nd Avenue is a long street, ma'am. And do you happen to know how many bridges there are in the city of New York alone? Not to mention Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, and the Bronx. And how do you know there isn't some little house out on Staten Island on some little 2nd Avenue you've never heard about? How do you know they were even talking about New York at all? How do you know it wasn't a long-distance call you overheard? Telephones are funny things. Look, lady, why don't you look at it this way? Supposing you hadn't broken in on the telephone call. Supposing you'd got your husband the way you always do. Would this murder have made any difference to you then?
I suppose not, but it's so inhuman, so cold-blooded. But surely...
Unless, of course, you have some reason for thinking this call is phony and that someone may be planning to murder you.
Oh no, I hardly think so. I mean, why should anybody? I'm all alone day and night. I see nobody except my maid, Eloise. She's a big 200-pounder. She's too lazy to bring up my breakfast tray, and the only other person is my husband, Albert. He's crazy about me, adores me, wait on me hand and foot. He's scarcely left my side since I took sick 12 years ago.
Well, then there's nothing for you to worry about, is there? And now, if you'll just leave the rest to us...
But what will you do? It's so late. It's nearly 11 o'clock.
We'll take care of it, lady.
Will you broadcast it all over the city and set up squads and warn your radio cats to watch out, especially in suspicious neighborhoods like mine?
Lady, I said we'd take care of it. Just now, I've got a couple of other matters here on my desk require my immediate...
Oh, idiot! Now, why did I do that? Now he'll think I'm a fool. Oh, why doesn't Albert come home? Why doesn't he?
Your call, please.
Operator, for heaven's sake, will you ring that Murray Hill 4009 again? I can't think what's keeping him so long.
Ringing Murray Hill 40098. The line is busy. Shall I?
I can't hear it. You don't have to tell me. I know it's busy. If I could only get out of this bed for a little while. If I could get a breath of fresh air, or just lean out the window and see the street. Hello? Albert? Hello? 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 Oh, what's the matter with this phone? Hello? 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 Oh, for heaven's sake! Who is this? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Your call, please.
Hello, operator. I don't know what's the matter with this telephone tonight, but it's possibly driving me crazy. I've never seen such inefficient, miserable service. Now, look, I'm an invalid and I'm very nervous, and I'm not supposed to be annoyed, but if this keeps me on much longer,
What seems to be the trouble, madam?
well, everything's wrong. The whole world could be murdered, for all people care, and now my phone keeps ringing.
Yes, madam.
Ringing and ringing and ringing every 5 seconds or so, and when I pick it up, there's no one there.
I am sorry, madam. If you will hang up, I will test it for you.
I don't want you to test it out for me. I want you to put through that call, whatever it is, at once.
I am afraid that is not possible, madam.
Not possible? And why? May I ask?
The system is automatic, madam. If someone is trying to dial your number, there is no way to check whether the call is coming through the system or not, unless the person is trying to reach your complaints to his particular operator.
Well, of all stupid, complicated, and meanwhile I've got to sit here in my bed, suffering every time that phone rings, imagining everything.
I will try to check it for you, madam.
Henchley Hospital? Do you have the address, madam?
No, it's somewhere in the 70s. Though it's a very small, private and exclusive hospital where I had my appendix out 2 years ago. Henchley, Henc.
One moment, please.
Please, hurry, and please, what is the time?
I do not know, madam. You may find out the time by dialing meridian 7-1212.
Oh, for heaven's sake, couldn't you?
The number of Henchley Hospital is Butterfield 7-0105, madam.
Butterfield 7-0105.
Henchley Hospital, good evening.
Nurses Registry.
Who was it you wished to speak to, please?
I want the nurses registry at once. I want a trained nurse. I want to hire her immediately for the night.
I see. What is the nature of the case, madam?
Nerves. I'm very nervous. I need soothing and companionship. My husband's away, and I'm...
Have you been recommended to us by any doctor in particular, madam?
No, but I really don't see why all this catechizing is necessary. I want a trained nurse. I was a patient in your hospital 2 years ago, and after all, I do expect to pay this person.
We quite understand that, madam, but registered nurses here are very scarce just now, and our superintendent has asked us to send people out only on cases where the physician in charge feels it's absolutely necessary.
Well, it is absolutely necessary.